How about now? Do you guys have me? All right, we can hear me. All right, we're in there. Sweet. Sorry about that, gang. Appreciate you sticking with us here. All right, I'll start from the top. So, appreciate you guys all joining. And if you have questions, please put them in the chat. And, if you guys have different gear that you're using that you really like, I'd love to see some links to whether it's Amazon or Primos or wherever you're getting your gear and your favorite nuanced whitetail items. Would love to see them dropped in there. That's my favorite part about whitetail hunting is outside of your neighbors, you can obviously cheer for other folks because they're not hunting the same deer that you're hunting, unless obviously you're a public land guy. So would love to just see some collaboration. And of course, dropping the QA spot down there at the bottom if you have questions for me or based on this gear, or if you have general questions and I can't answer them, I'll try to kick it back to you guys. And again, hopefully we can get them answered in the chat and all take away some new learnings and go spend some money on some new gear after tonight. So with that, I'm going to kind of start with some of my smaller, more trinkety items that I always bring to the tree. And then I'm going to move into some of my tree stand, saddle platform, climbing sticks, and that stuff. So I'm just going to start with bow holders. So I have ran a bunch of different bow holders, everything from these super tiny tree steps, which you can usually go to your local sporting goods store and find these, or just Google small screw-in tree step. And I really like the ones with the rubberized coating, just because obviously, as you can imagine, it kills a lot of that sound, clanking metal on metal. So I always have one or two of these in my pack. They come in handy in a lot of different ways. Obviously you have your old go-to tree step. I don't ever recommend climbing trees with these because they are a gut hook if you fall while climbing up, but super handy to hang some accessories on, but that's no secret. This Lone Wolf Custom Gear Sidekick. So you'll see these on my tree stands. I attach them on all my tree stands and I use them a ton. Not every time, depending on what tree I'm in. Sometimes I might use a more traditional bow holder, but this screws right onto your tree stand. Really is pretty universal with any tree stand. And you can just slide your limb right in there and it sits perfectly. I usually end up grabbing the top of my riser. I put it on my left side of the tree stand, so that way I'm grabbing it with my left hand. And it's very seamless, less motion than, typically reaching out and grabbing your bow. You can be very tight and concealed. So this Lone Wolf Custom Gear Sidekick is a super handy little bow holder that I discovered last season and have really taken a liking to. Then, of course, the old easy hanger. You can't really beat it. I always have two sizes with me when I'm on a whitetail hunt. Don't necessarily carry them both in my pack, but the long arm and the short arm comes in real handy. Oftentimes, if you're in a tree that splits or something like that, and it's not real great to put it right behind you for a shorter bow holder, you can stick it off to the side. And again, just eliminating the amount of motion that you need to make to grab that bow can be the difference between getting drawn on a buck and getting busted by a buck. So I always have a number of different bow holder options. And then the last one is for ground hunts. So if you just Google bow holder stake, you'll find a number of different products like this one. I've had this one for probably pushing a decade. I've used it a ton turkey hunting and quite a bit whitetail hunting. I don't hunt from the ground super often, but over the last 10 years, I've certainly gave it a go on a number of occasions. And having a bow holder is just so handy. And for $15, it is definitely worth the small investment to, again, always be at the ready, have your bow right where it needs to be so you can make a short motion, grab it, get drawn back, and hopefully get a shot on that buck. So the last bow holder option I am going to introduce after I show you this strap. So this strap has changed the way I hang everything from the tree. This is from Tethered, but you can Google around and find these on Amazon or from general camping stores. I first saw one of these when I was growing up with my dad. He would always have one around camp that random things would hang off of, just summer camping. But this thing, you just simply wrap it around the tree. It has just a simple hook connection point that you connect the strap to itself. It's then around the tree, gives you a little bit of room where you can tighten it down and make sure you're good to go with that cinch. But the amount of stuff that you can hang off of this is pretty impressive. And I think this is like a $24 item on Tethered's website. And with that, they have this quick draw bow holder, which I just ordered this a couple weeks ago. As you can see, it's still in the packaging. But all that's going to do is I can attach it to my riser with just a couple set screws, and then it's just going to slide right into one of these loops on this strap. So I'm looking forward to trying that this season. But then additionally, you can see that I have, some paracord attached to this thing. And then I also have these little clips called Hero clips. And so Tethered sells these. You can also just search Hero clip. So the comment there, daisy chain. So I don't know if this is, it's definitely a type of daisy chain. Daisy chain to me is more for hanging climbing sticks, which I have some of that and I'll show you. Exactly. You can pick up these Hero clips at Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, online. If you just search Hero clip or, two-sided carabiner, you can find these things and they are so handy. This one you can kind of see is built to be a bow holder or a backpack holder. I've used it for both, just depending on the tree and my setup. And this one, I hang all sorts of stuff off of this one. I'll hang a Nalgene off of it with water, a backpack, whatever it may be. So for me, I tend to overbring stuff to the tree stand rather than underbring, and my straps and my setup show it. So I always want to have as many things to hang as possible. That way I'm not digging through my backpack and reaching in the bottom and making a ton of noise and movement in order to get whatever I'm looking for. I have it all hung up off of this strap, very accessible. So really highly recommend getting yourself this hang your stuff strap, as Tethered calls it. I think it's the HYS strap on their website. Some of these Hero clips, couldn't recommend it highly enough for the price point. So that's pretty much my go-to for, hanging bows, hanging packs, hanging things from the tree. That is my kit for that. This next piece of gear. So this is a pretty new company called Painted Arrow Outdoors, and this is called their Mag Arm, I believe. And so for me, I'm not really filming hunts for any purpose other than for my own entertainment. And then really I use this for recording my shot. That way I can look back and see where I hit. And so it's just a simple clip that, you can utilize on a branch or whatever you have near to you. And then they come with a magnet for the back of your phone. And it's simply just magnets on there. And so I've been a big fan of this thing. I've not yet used it in a whitetail scenario, but I used it a little bit turkey hunting this past year. It weighs a few ounces, folds up pretty small. So I'm pretty excited to use this to, I'm really using it so I can record my shot, so I can look back at it, be confident in where I hit that critter and make the best decision. What is that recording clip called? So if you go to Painted Arrow Outdoors, this is the Mag Pro Arm, I believe it is called, but Painted Arrow Outdoors is the company. They make a bunch of really cool, innovative products. I also have I think it's just called their Mag Pro, and it's one that you attach to your riser via your stabilizer. So you just screw in your stabilizer through a little hole, and it's essentially this part of this arm. And it just sits right above your stabilizer, and it's super slick, again, for the same thing, whether it's recording your hunts because you want to rewatch it, or, really honing in on where that shot was to see, what your play is on tracking a critter that you hit. Could not recommend Painted Arrow Outdoors highly enough. Super good dudes behind the company, just a couple of young guys that love hunting and started following their passion. So Painted Arrows Outdoors, I see somebody dropped a link. Appreciate that, Brittany. Super cool guys and super cool products that they're creating. My next one, checking the wind. So always have a wind puffer with me. Obviously you guys are familiar with these, but I've also bought into the craze of the old milkweed. Sometimes it's kind of fun to watch it drift and see what your wind is doing 30 yards from you, not just 3 yards from you, as this stuff just dissipates into the wind. But you can really start to see how the wind is swirling and playing, 40, 50 yards from your tree as you're watching these float. So I know the hunting public sells some of this stuff. These are from Illusion Outdoors, which I'll get to another one of their products that is super cool. But always need to know what the wind is doing. So got to have that stuff. And along with that, pretty expensive product, but this is an Ozonics. If you're not familiar with one, this is the very original Ozonics model that, shoot, I want to say I got this thing in maybe 2015, 2016. So it's been with me for a really long time, and I personally cannot recommend them highly enough. On multiple occasions, I have fooled mature bucks' noses within bow range and gotten shots to what I believe is because of Ozonics. Oftentimes they definitely smell what is being produced out of this machine. But ozone is a naturally occurring, I'll call it a smell because I'm not exactly sure how to categorize ozone. But if you walk outside after a storm, you'll kind of smell, it's almost like it smells fresh, but you can tell it's a little different than just fresh, clean air. But ozone basically attacks your scent molecules, attaches to them, and overpowers them with the ozone. And so this, you turn it on, and it has multiple modes. I always run mine in boost mode, and you can get XL batteries and just regular batteries. And so I really like having this thing with me. It is kind of a pain in the butt to carry because it's bulky and takes up a fair amount of room in your backpack. But at the end of the day, if it can save my hunt and help me tag a mature buck, I'm going to carry it. James asking if I use scent wafers. So I actually need to order some scent sticks. I like to use everything possible, to be honest with you. I usually run Tink scent, and I always have a couple, little scent wicks that I hang. And I also do, I have this little strap that goes around my boot with a little felt pad at the bottom called like if you scent tracker or a scent drag. I've used that a number of times. To be honest with you, I don't think I have ever seen a deer walk down my scent drag path like he was following that estrus doe that I was trying to be. But honestly, at the end of the day, for me, it's all about confidence. And if I can placebo myself into being more confident, I'm going to do it. So definitely use scent wicks, scent wafers, scent drags, all that stuff. There's also Conquest Scents, I believe it is. They kind of come in deodorant sticks. And they come in like rutting buck scent, calming scent. There's a number of those out there as well that I have used in the past. Again, I'd say the jury's out on whether it actually works or not. It's another one of those things that it lives inside of my head and is more of a placebo. If I can get them to hang around just for another 2 or 3 seconds, sometimes that can be the difference of getting a shot or not getting a shot. So for $12 for a deodorant stick of calming scent, I certainly run it when it's available to me. How bad does using a thermocell affect the scent? Thermocells, I know a lot of people that have shot really good bucks with a thermocell running. So if that's what it takes for you to be in your tree more often to battle the bugs, use that thermocell, burn it down, and it's going to keep you from doing a lot of swatting and doing a lot of moving. So I wouldn't hesitate to be using a thermocell during the early season at all. Scent killer sprays, 100%. I am always, I'm usually a dead downwind guy, but whether you're using scent killer or whatever it is, I think the most important thing that you are spraying is your boots. Even if you're wearing rubber boots in, I still always spray mine down because that ground scent is so often what kills you when you're in close quarters and those deer are coming into bow range. Now, gun hunting, I'm certainly a little bit less cautious with my scent just because there's a lot more people in the woods. And deer are kind of just a little bit more frantic. But bow hunting, I definitely am using scent sprays, spraying down my boots especially. Do I spray the ground on the way in? So I have not done that. I have not used like the spray bottle to kind of spray behind me on the way in, but that's a very interesting thought. Again, I carry a lot of crap into the tree as it is, so I try not to get too crazy on carrying even more. All right, this next one. So this thing is not really something that is part of the hunt per se, but something I use a lot when setting up trail cameras, particularly on a field edge, or if I am trying to bring bucks to a certain location. And so this is called a Hoag licking stick. So if you just Google search Hoag licking stick, you'll see this. They have a couple other innovative products, one where you like screw into a tree and it's a branch that comes off of a tree. But essentially you just drive a stake through each side of this, and you cut a fresh limb, put it in there. And this, when you buy one of these, it comes with some of their like scents, and it's just kind of like a community scrape scent that they have in a bottle. And I was a little unsure of this product when I first bought it a few years back, but I have been pretty thrilled at the results of getting deer to come into, a scrape stick, whatever you want to call it, to get more inventory of deer on camera. So another innovative product, and they actually also recommend particular types of trees to use in here that deer seem to favor. Offhand, I can't remember those tree species, but they have it on their website and they communicate it pretty well. But they make a number of cool products. These guys also make like a soft antler to help train your dog to become a shed dog. They make a number of different things. So if you Google Hoag licking stick, this will come up and is a great way to get more use out of your trail cameras. Anywhere I can, maybe an onX vendor. So Greg, yeah, actually a lot of these products are available and at a discount to our elite members through Elite Benefits. Not all of them, but you will find a ton of really, really solid whitetail brands on our Elite Benefits. We'll drop a link to our Elite Benefits in the chat there. Go check it out, go see the brands. Have I tried the shed dog training? I have a young pup at home right now. He's not even a year old, and he will be mainly a shed dog and a tracking dog. So we are currently just working on obedience. I have not done much as far as introduction with antlers or deer tracking, but that is the goal. But at this point in time, I'm nobody to seek knowledge from, unfortunately.
Before you head to the field, do you shower with any scent killer stuff?
Sometimes. I certainly don't shampoo or conditioner my hair before heading to the field, so that's a start. A lot of times the camps that I end up at, if I'm hunting public ground, oftentimes I am literally camping, or if I'm at home, I will take a shower the night before, but I'm not fanatical about showering right before I head into the woods. I will say I do not ever get dressed, then drive my truck to a spot. I will always put my stuff in a bin or a bag in the back end of my truck, as well as my boots, and then get ready, outside of the truck, especially after turning the truck off. The last thing you want to do is stand behind your truck as that exhaust is running and then get dressed, because then you're just full of exhaust. So not fanatical about showering right before, but if I can smell myself, or I obviously make sure I'm not using everyday body wash or soap, but I definitely think it can make a difference. My next one, game bags. So I'm not sure how many of you have ever quartered out a whitetail and packed it out versus dragging it out. In fact, like, I grew up in Wisconsin, and I know it was illegal to do that for many, many years. I believe it is now legal to do that as of the last year or two. But check your regs, because boy, let me tell you, quartering and packing out a whitetail, over a half mile, 3/4 of a mile, I think somewhere in there is the sweet spot where it really becomes advantageous to cut them up in the field, pack them out versus the drag. I have become a huge fan of quartering. especially seeing as my current living situation, I don't have a great place to hang a deer and let it age and really be able to carve it up and pick every single tiny little scrap of meat off. You know, I just live in a rental unit. I don't have a garage. So quartering deer has become my way to go. Andrew, I'm based in Missoula, but I do, you know, I'll travel to 5 or 6 states to whitetail hunt this year. And these game bags will be in my pack in Wisconsin, in Kansas, in Missouri. Oftentimes, especially when I'm hunting public ground, I don't necessarily end up where I think I'm going to end up. I do a lot more scouting than I do hunting on those out-of-state trips. And sometimes I end up 1.5 miles further than I thought I would. And that's when I'm really happy that I have my game bags. All right, next one, paracord. So never forget your paracord, because this is the key to pulling up your bow, pulling up your backpack, whatever it is that you might have on the ground to safely ascend into your tree stand. Pretty obvious, but figured I'd make sure you had it there.
I had a question on that, if you've ever used like a retractable hoist or anything like that.
I have not. In fact, that never even dawned on me, but if they make them and you use one, you should drop a link in the chat, because I want to see what you're using, because that sounds interesting. But to keep my paracord organized, somebody asked a question there. I mean, basically what I do is I just, you know, fold it up in this nice little hand-sized piece by wrapping it around my hand. And then I just simply wrap around it a couple times and then thread that tag end below those wraps, pull it tight, and it typically will stay reasonably organized and not be a total cluster. Something I always carry is these stealth strips. So like this, I just kind of have it rubber banded together, because otherwise it gets a little wily in the pack. But there's been a bunch of times where I find that metal is clanking on metal, you know, because I didn't properly care for my gear before the season, or, you know, my arrow, you know, where it sits between my rest, that rest kind of gets worn out and the felt comes off of it. Quick way to repair, because you don't want that arrow against carbon while you're drawing back. Anything that I can do to reduce the amount of noise I make, no matter what I'm doing in the tree stand, these stealth strips help me do that. And so I use them a ton all over the place. So I always have some of that around. Rattling antlers. So I'm a huge believer in real rattling antlers. I've tried, you know, the black rack. I've tried the little rattle pack deal that, you know, you just twist and turn. And I've actually done quite a bit of experimenting with my buddies in the field, you know, have them sit 100 yards away and rattle with the different contraptions, whether that's a black rack or whether that's real antlers, whether that's one of those little twist and turn things. And I mean, as a human, I feel very confident that I know when I hear real antlers versus something fake. So you can only imagine a deer who's much more attuned to those sounds, and you know, they're going to know as well. So I'm a huge believer in real antlers. And then I always tie them together with paracord. And I saw this, oh man, when I was a young kid. I was maybe 12 or 13 on a Tom Miranda hunting video, where he actually used his paracord that he had tied on his stand to pull his bow up. He would tie it in the middle of the paracord between his antlers and basically sit there in his tree stand and jig the rattling antlers like you would an ice fishing rod. So that way they're hitting the leaves and they're clanking, you know, unorthodoxly. And it's really just that ground noise, because if you're sitting in a tree stand just rattling away, there is no ground noise. And if you have ever witnessed a fight or heard a deer walk through the woods, there's going to be ground noise. So I have had, anecdotally, it seems as though I have better success when I do the old tie on to the bow hoist and do the ice fish jig method than I do when I'm just rattling in the tree stand. That said, you are creating a lot more movement when you're sitting there and jigging them. And then your last drop usually makes a little bit of an odd noise with antlers just hitting the ground. So I have been busted by deer that come in really fast when doing that before. but they do seem to pick up on that realism of those leaves and of that ground noise. So an interesting tip that I've used fairly successfully. So here's one that I don't think a lot of people carry in the whitetail woods, but I'm a big advocate for, is an InReach. Andrew, I'm going to address that question because it's something that has dawned on me super recently. I want to say I have 21 trail cameras out right now across 3 states. And the amount of sparring that I have seen in the last 3 to 5 days has been ridiculous. And to almost no fail, the picture after the 2 bucks sparring, there are more than just those 2 bucks there. So it's not something I've done in the past, but I'm probably going to go sit in a tree this weekend, and it is going to be the earliest I have ever carried my rattling antlers into the woods. And I'm going to try rattling in early October here. I was talking to Jake Hofer over at Exodus Outdoor Gear today, and we were going over this same scenario as far as rattling in early October. Now, when I'm talking about rattling in early October, I'm not rattling like I am in November, where I'm like clanking and trying to get deer to know I'm there, looking to be mad. I'm just gonna, soft tickle, because that's what those deer are doing right now. They're just sparring, kind of sorting it out. To some extent, they already know the pecking order. But I would recommend, if you are hunting right now, get out there with your rattling antlers, try to make some of that sparring noise. And I would love to hear how that goes for you, because I have a hypothesis that early October rattling might be something that I've overlooked for the past 2 decades. But by and large, like end of October has kind of been my most successful time frame for rattling. All right, so InReach Mini. I know I would say at least half, maybe 3/4 of the places I whitetail hunt across Montana, Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Wisconsin, Illinois, very rarely do I have good service no matter where I hunt. And last year, for the first time, I fell out of a tree stand, and I fell from about 14 feet, landed flat on my back. Thankfully, I collected myself, caught my wind for 5 minutes, and I was A-okay. But I didn't have a lick of service, but I had my InReach with me. And so had I been in rough shape, I would have been able to still reach out to somebody, communicate that I was in need of help. And for $350, that's invaluable. I could not recommend getting an InReach and a plan to get you out of the woods in a bind. And with that, the other thing that I always make sure I do, if I'm going out hunting by myself, even if it's in my backyard or just down the street, I am sending somebody a text and a waypoint from onX saying, this is where I'm sitting. If I'm not back an hour before dark and you haven't gotten a text from me that I'm on a blood trail, you better send somebody looking for me, because all too often, you can even be wearing a safety harness. It only takes 1 second to unclip it, to adjust, or to, start moving it down on your safety line going up the tree. It's just way too easy to make a mistake and fall out of a tree stand to not have safety procedures in place. Next one, at large, Bino Harness. Having everything you need with your binos, your rangefinder. I keep my wind puffer right here. Usually I'll keep my grunt call stuffed in this pouch, and it keeps everything right here on my chest. Doesn't at all affect me shooting a bow. I come to full draw right here. This never ever gets in my way. And I don't think I have been on a hunt for any species without wearing this thing for the last 7 years. This is an Alaska Guide Creations Bino Harness. Those are some fantastic people over there that make a great product. So Alaska Guide Creation makes really nice bino harnesses. FHF Gear makes some really innovative, larger pouches in different configurations. Those do come with a little heavier price tag. And then the third one that I've never ran, but I have a number of buddies that run marsupial gear. Those folks seem to really like those as well. So a couple good options for a bino harness, but really underrated in the whitetail woods, in my opinion. For your rangefinder, an extra rangefinder battery. I can remember like yesterday, it was an Iowa bow hunt, in the mid 2010s, and I pulled out my rangefinder as a mature buck was coming in, and it was deader than dead. And that was a pretty tough scenario. I hate having to guess ranges because, as you all know, especially when you're bow hunting, the difference in 5 yards can be the difference in a complete miss, a maimed deer, or, an easy blood trail to follow. So for $6, always put an extra rangefinder battery in your Bino harness. All right, my last of the little trinkets is my Grunt Tube. So this is, again, from Illusion Outdoors. They're out of Minnesota, a bunch of really hardcore hunting guys. They actually run the Deer Society YouTube channel, and they create some really awesome content. But the reason that I've been using this Grunt Tube is, as you can see right here, it says fawn, doe, buck. And so in one Grunt Tube, I have the ability to do a fawn bleat. I have the ability to do a doe bleat. And I have the ability to be a mature buck. And so just the versatility of this call, I really have no idea why anybody would own just a regular Grunt Tube that only makes buck grunts when you can buy one same size, roughly the same price, that's going to give you 3-in-1. So again, that's an Illusion Outdoors extinguisher, super handy product that, boy, I feel like I've been running one of these for, again, probably close to a decade. Long time that I've been using this Grunt Tube, and it has been the demise of a number of whitetails. And that's actually another thing that I will say, along with just some strategy here, is I do a lot of blind grunting. Now, of course, like I will, Julie, this Grunt Tube is the extinguisher Grunt Tube from Illusion Outdoors. But yeah, I do a lot of blind grunting. Of course, I will grunt when I see deer, but particularly when I am in tight cover and I tend to hunt a lot of timber, I'll blind grunt, especially if I know I'm in a known bedding area, which I really like to be aggressive and target those. Last year, I actually grunted in one of the bigger bucks I've ever had an encounter with, just blind grunting on a rainy day on I think it was November 3rd. I just threw out a couple blind grunts at 3 p.m. and this thing came absolutely storming into 9 yards, and unfortunately got to full draw and just never had a shot at him. But there's something about calling and interacting with a whitetail that just gets my blood boiling. So that's what that is. Trail cameras. So if you guys have not heard, the onX Hunt app is now integrating with cell cameras. So with Bushnell, Exodus, and Covert, you can now start receiving all of your cell cam images from those three manufacturers straight to the Hunt app. And so additionally, we are going to start working on really creating a singular platform to receive, organize, and analyze trail camera photos. So of course, as mentioned, Bushnell, Exodus, and Covert are the only three trail camera manufacturers right now that offer the integration with onX. We are going to work to onboard more manufacturers here in future seasons. We wanted to start with those three. They saw our vision, they bought in, and they were on board to get on. So we'll drop a link to the elite benefits again. And if you filter just whitetail from the species filter there, you will find that Bushnell offers 25% off plus 3 months of free unlimited data when you purchase a cell cam as an elite member. And Covert is offering 35% off trail cameras, and Exodus is offering 25% off everything at their website. Of the three, I would say that the Exodus rival, it would be the camera to go with, hands down. Battery life on those things is insane. Picture clarity is great. The setup through the Scout Tech app, as far as getting it up and running, takes about 3 minutes. I would say closely followed by Bushnell. These Cellucors tend to work pretty well. And then the Covert just has a tough onboarding experience as compared to Bushnell and Exodus, but they also make some great cameras, and their 35% off is hard to ignore. But if I was picking up just one of the three, I'd be going Exodus Rival, and to no surprise, they're out of stock right now, because I'm not alone in wanting the Exodus Rival. Do they recommend Moultrie? So Moultries are great. I run a couple Moultries. Their battery life is exceptional for the most part on their cell cams, but we are not integrated with Moultrie yet. They're on the short list, and we hope to onboard them in the future.
Similar question, will we be adding Tacticam?
Ooh, that's, I sure hope so. I would, Tacticam kind of stands in a league of their own, in my opinion, as far as cell cameras go. I mean, easy to set up, easy to use, very affordable monthly plans, plain out work, great support. So Tacticam is on the list. They're at the top of the list. Jacob's asking about SpyPoint. Yup, we're in conversations with them as well. As you guys can imagine, on these brand collaborations that take a lot of back-end engineering and dev work, it's a long, slower process, but we are working to get there, and hope to onboard Tacticam and SpyPoint, Moultrie. I mean, the goal is that every trail camera manufacturer at some point in the next year or two will integrate with the onX Hunt app. That way you can have a one-stop shop for all of your cell cam and trail camera at large management, because it's a very broken system right now. If you have 3 different cell camera manufacturers, you need 3 apps just to receive photos. And then not to mention, if you're going to manage those and organize them and tag them and create folders of different properties or tags of specific deer, it's a very cumbersome experience. So that is what we are trying to solve. And the future of our product, right now you can receive images from those 3 brands, Bushnell, Exodus, and Covert. But soon to come is an auto analysis system that's going to automatically categorize your photo as far as buck, doe, bear, coyote, turkey. And then we're going to start building that organization so you can create custom tags and custom folders. And then futuristically, we are going to help you analyze your photos and understand your deer on your property better. And so if you can imagine what that looks like, let's say you wanted to go harvest a doe and you have 6 trail cameras that are tapped into the onX ecosystem, sending you images, and you want to say, I want to harvest a doe tonight. From my 6 cameras, show me my highest odds of getting a doe in daylight. And so we'll have some filtering in there where you can input that, and we tell you, okay, at your south side food plot, 6 of the last 7 days, there's been daylight doe activity. Whereas on your north side pinch point, only 4 of the last 7 days, there's been daylight doe activity. Pretty easy choice. You're going to go to the south side food plot. Or if you have your target buck, Steve, let's say you have 20 pictures of Steve and you want onX to pull some correlations out of those photos of Steve to help figure out what he's doing. Okay, 10 of the 20 are 10 of the 20 images are daylight, 10 of the 20 images are in darkness. All right, further analyze those 10 daylight images. Well, 8 of them are on your south side food plot, and 6 of those 8 occur on a northeast wind between 7 and 13 miles an hour. Whereas, the other 4 images of the daylight and that north side pinch point, and those are all on southwest winds between 10 and 15. Well, that information right there gives you an idea of where that buck is bedding, where he's traveling, just a bunch of information, again, not based on some GPS collared deer in Mississippi, not based on some anecdotal weather factors that are all aligning to make it a great movement day, but analyzing the photos on your property of your deer from your trail cameras. So a lot of exciting things to come there, and I'm excited to give away a few trail cameras to some of you folks in this webinar. All right, so I'm going to move into some of the tree stand, saddle, and other gear that I have been using for a couple seasons. I'm going to start with tree stands. So I would say I am hunting out of a tree stand probably 40% of the time, saddle 50% of the time, and on the ground about 10% of the time. So I have a couple, couldn't even tell you the name brand tree stand at home that I pick up on Amazon for $40. And I run a fair amount of those as stationary sets in areas. But the vast majority of my hunts are hanging hunts because I'm running public and permission ground by and large. I only have one private farm that is in my family's name in Iowa that has set stands. Outside of that, every single hunt I go on, the vast majority of them I am hanging and hunting every morning, every evening. So this is a lone wolf 0.5. And so I'm about 6'1", 185, 190. And so this tree stand, as you can see, is super small. So my forearm is probably, I don't know, how long is my forearm, Jack?
20 inches, 24 inches?
Yeah, I would say my forearm's probably just under 2 feet with my hand included. And that's all the platform you're getting on the 0.5. I believe it comes in at like 4 pounds. And this thing is pretty awesome. Not what I would recommend for an all-day sit. You kind of get crunched up. Now, if you're 5'8", 150 pounds, this thing's going to be freaking money. But I typically will bring this only if I'm going way back in and I just intend to sit for a couple hours searching for hot sign. But it's hard to beat the weight of this because it weighs nothing. You don't even notice it when you strap it on your pack. So I run the 0.5 a fair amount. I also have the 0.75. To be honest with you, I would not buy the 0.75 again. I would buy the 1.0 because this really did not get me a whole lot bigger than the 0.5. As you can see, gives you a couple more inches. I also have the extended seat on this one. So I think it adds like 4 inches of height. Again, at 6'1", it is a little cramped when I'm trying to sit all day. And as you see, I do have the side kicks on both of these tree stands. But again, super light. They grip the tree like no other, super easy to hang. I got nothing but good things to say about these Lone Wolf custom gear products. And that's exactly why they are part of our elite benefits. And they offer some pretty great discounts that are always on for you elite members. So go check out one of them elite member benefit links that we've dropped in there. And any recommendations for 6'9", 270? Yes, River's Edge tree stands. So River's Edge actually is made in my home state of Wisconsin. They make fantastic products, and they make some stuff for you larger guys out there that are looking for more comfort. Obviously, with more comfort and larger comes heavier. So for what that's worth, Millennium Ultralight. Millennium makes really good stands too. My only problem with Millennium is I haven't sat in one in a while, but their chairs were way too comfortable. Like that was a nap fest for me in those Millenniums. Do I ever go higher than 15 feet? I'll get into how high I go once I get to my climbing sticks here in just a minute. So those are pretty much the two tree stands that I run. Do you recommend a bow brand? Man, go shoot some bows and see what you like best. I've shot Matthews for years. I've shot an Elite before. Yeah, I've just shot Matthews and Elite. Hoyt makes a great bow. Bowtech makes a great bow. My recommendation, go to your local archery shop and say, hey, I'm in the market for a new bow. Here's my budget, and shoot a few and see what feels best to you. I know one really, really, really great bow for beginners or somebody who's just not looking to break the bank is a Quest Thrive. Quest Thrives, I think you can pick one up for sub $500, and it shoots very much like a Prime, very much like an Elite, super dead in your hands, quiet. It's not going to be fast, but very forgiving. All right, so my saddle. I run a tethered. I have the tethered Phantom. I have not yet jumped on the tethered Lockdown, but I'm guessing I will at some point. But this thing, I love it. I love saddle hunting. I'm able to just wear this into the stand. It's not packed. It's just around my body. And then maybe my favorite part about it is just the safety aspect. You have your linesman belt, which is attached to you. You literally, it's an inconvenience not to wear it while you're hanging your gear. I can't tell you how many times I watched my dad and my uncles hang tree stands with no safety equipment. And that's just never been for me. And these days I just straight up yell at them and tell them they're being idiots, because for $50, buy a linesman belt that is going to keep you attached to the tree and safe, because you got family and people depending on you to come back home to eat dinner with them, to help raise those kids. You owe it to everybody in your life to wear a linesman's belt and wear a safety strap. Honestly, is saddle hunting comfortable for all day rut hunts? Absolutely not, Nancy. I would be straight up lying to you if I told you that I was excited to sit in a saddle for 8 to 10 hour days. It's just simply not possible to be comfortable that long in a saddle, in my opinion. And I've probably spent north of 400 hours in a saddle, I would guess, over the course of the last 5 seasons. And I have tried just about everything. I can be really comfortable for 4 to 6 hours, depending on the tree. It says losing audio. If you guys are losing audio, please let me know. Okay, negative. Good on there. All right, sweet. So I would say generally 4 to 6 hours, depending on the tree. What I'm looking for in a tree, my ideal scenario is a split tree. Whether that's just 2 stems or it's 3, if I can find a split, I can sit so much more comfortably, just because I can finagle it so I can lean back against the tree, or, kick my feet up and give my feet a break, because that's the ultimate crux for me, is because you constantly have to have some amount of pressure on your feet when you are saddle hunting. It's my calves and the arches of my feet that get sore first. I would say the other downside to saddle hunting is because you are, scrunching your clothes up with that saddle, especially around your groin and your butt area and your quads, those very large muscles that you need to circulate that blood and circulate that heat to stay warm. Sometimes I get colder when saddle hunting, because it is taking away that air insulation between my layers. So I do dress a little bit warmer when I'm saddle hunting versus when I'm sitting in a tree stand. Phil, the best way to stay comfortable in a saddle. So if you can find a split tree, fantastic. The other tree I look for is a dead straight tree. Not my favorite to sit in a saddle. If you can find a tree that just has a little bit of lean to it, one way or the other, what I'll do is I'll put my platform off of the side to go away from the lean. And then you can kind of just like lean back into the tree. And again, it just takes a little bit of that pressure off of your feet, off of your calves, and you can be a lot more comfortable. The other way to find more comfort in a saddle is it's all about your tether height. So what I've found, this is going to be your tether. You're going to wrap it around the tree. It's going to make that circular connection. And then you're going to have this around the tree. This is going to come out towards me and attach to the bridge on your saddle. And what I have found is that this tether needs to be about even with my nose. It needs to be about nose height at that tree. And then you can adjust the amount of, recline or lack thereof that you use within that tether. But if you're struggling to get comfortable in your saddle, that's my first adjustment, is using the tether and either moving it up or moving it down. But again, I find between nose and forehead height to kind of be the sweet spot for me. Another thing that you can get, no matter what saddle you run, this also just goes through your tether. This is the tethered recliner, but it just gives you another touch point essentially, and you just wear it right under your armpits. And again, it just attaches to this carabiner on your tether. And it just takes some of the pressure, again, off your feet, off your calves. The one thing I will say I do not like about this is once you have this attached to that carabiner, you got your bridge coming from your saddle, you got your Bino harness, it starts to become a lot when you're drawing your bow. So I am only wearing this for small periods at a time, or if I'm really trying to sit for a long time in the saddle. Oh, Clint, yeah, the Chili Mac the night before. Oof. Well, if that's what you're using your recliner for, I feel for you. That's a tough sit. So that's pretty much my go-to basic saddle setup. The other thing that I do is I always just tie paracord to these, loops that are connected to my saddle. And then as I'm crawling up, what I'll do is I try to just make it in one go, hanging all my stuff. So I'll have paracord hanging down from here, from this loop on the saddle, and I'll tie my additional climbing sticks and my platform to one individual piece of paracord. I'll tie them, I'll loop the paracord, tie the first stick 3 feet down, the second stick 8 feet down, and then my platform, at the bottom of the paracord. And as I get sticks up, I pull it up, tie the first stick, take it off the paracord, hang it in the tree, climb up, next stick. And then on my other side is where I, have my paracord off of this loop. And then that's where my bow is. That way I can go one crawl up the tree with my backpack on my back. One piece of paracord has my other sticks in my platform. My other paracord has my bow on it. That way I get set up, it's all in one go, and we're there. So the next thing is saddle platforms. So I would say linemen will keep you from being able to work all around the tree. Yes. So you do not want to run the lineman and the tether at the same time. You can. It's not going to hinder you, other than what Mark said, is it's going to hinder your 320 degree shooting ability. It's going to kind of bring that down to probably 200 degrees. But I mean, those tethers and those bridges are usually rated to 4,000 to 5,000 pounds. So I'm usually a pretty trusting guy. Saddle platforms, I think, are maybe the biggest key in being comfortable for longer with your saddle. I cannot overemphasize enough that if you have larger feet, you are going to need a larger platform. So I'm going to take out all 4 of my platforms here. I've been pretty fanatical over the last 5 years in collecting saddle equipment at large. And so I have the original Predator from Tethered, and I'll just straight up tell you, I wouldn't go with this one. It's small, it's silver. There's nothing special about it. Wouldn't get the Tethered regular sized platform unless you have like size 4 feet. The Tethered XL is certainly better. It's fairly large. I have about 9-inch hands, and as you see, I have size 12 feet. I can fit them on here, but I have the Lacrosse Alpha Burley 1,600 gram insulated boots, or whatever those things are. And those boots are freaking ginormous when you get them on your feet. And so 2 of those boots pretty well take up this whole platform. A giant improvement from the standard tethered platform, but not my go-to. So again, I've come back to Lone Wolf for my platform needs. This is the Fix. So it's a little bit larger than the standard tethered one. It is way lighter than the standard tethered one. But again, it's a little small for my size 12 feet. I can make it work for 4 hours, but after that, I'm pretty burnt out on standing on this one. The best solution I've found is the Saddle Hunter from Lone Wolf. So as you can see, my 9-inch hand, I have a lot of room on this one. I can fit both of my size 12 feet, side by side comfortably. And then the other thing that you can do is, so long as you attach this really solidly to the tree, which again, I can't speak highly enough about how well these Lone Wolf products grip trees. You can tiptoe. I'll just put my toes anywhere around this platform. And that really does give me about 320 degrees of shootability. I see Mark recommends XOP, and I have nothing but good things to say about the guys from XOP. Super solid dudes over there that make some awesome products as well. But I would look at one of the bigger saddle platforms, especially if you have large feet and wear rubber boots, because it is a huge advantage in staying more comfortable. Okay, so packs. I just picked up this tethered FAS fast pack. To be honest with you, I have not yet ran it. How do you pick between tree stand and saddle? Andrew, so the way I decide between tree stand and saddle, first off, I go in mind, am I going to hang and hunt in the same set all day long, or am I more than likely to split it up, come back for lunch, hang in one tree, get down after the morning and readjust for an evening setup? Because oftentimes I love hunting timber. Like, timber is where I love to be, but I'm not naive, and I know that field edges and food and some of those other, go-to locations are far better options in the evening. So if I plan on moving midday or not sitting all day, I'm probably going saddle. If not, if I plan on an all-day sit, that's when I'm usually bringing in one of my lighter tree stand setups. Or if I'm in an area like Kansas or Nebraska where there are not good tree options at large, that is also when I go for a saddle, just because I can get into most trees with a saddle. Even if it's 6 feet off the ground, I can usually make something work. Ring of steps. Yeah, so there's, Jack, what was that steps that you bought a couple of years ago?
Was it Bullman? Something like that. I was not a fan.
Yeah, there's a number of different step options. I mean, you can certainly like screw in an additional tree step to give you more range, 360 around the tree. But they also make some cam strap compatible they're almost like ladder steps. Did you find what it was?
Bullman Outdoors, Ring of Steps.
Bullman Outdoors Ring of Steps. I don't know if that's what you're talking about, Daniel, but my buddy Jack here behind the camera, he ran those last year. He's a big dude. He's, probably 6'5", 280. And he said he was not a super big fan, but it's to each their own. You're going to have to experiment and start to figure out what works best for you. You know what, Tim, you've talked me into skipping the pack for now and going straight to the climbing sticks. That's a better order anyway. Again, I got a little fanatical in, collecting different climbing sticks over the last 5 years, because I just love testing new stuff. Steven, appreciate you tuning in. So I'm going to start, I'll start small and go bigger. So this is the short D'Acquisto series double step from Lone Wolf. I think it's 14 inches tall. And as you can see, I only run cable aiders. I had a couple bad experiences with nylon aiders where my foot got all tangled in the dark, particularly coming down out of the tree. And I just didn't like it. I don't really mess with falling out of trees. So I really only go with the cable aiders that keep their form. These ones screw on right into the back of the climbing stick from Lone Wolf Custom Gear. And I've come to trust these. They're solid. Obviously, it is a metal cable. It's not going anywhere. So I do run aiders. By and large, I'm 3 sticks. I don't care whether they're short sticks, whether they're longer sticks. Typically 3 sticks is what I run, just because that is what's easy to carry on my pack. And I don't really ever feel the need to get much higher than 15 feet. Of course, for folks hunting in the South or hunting over a bait pile where deer are coming in really wary, or, northern Minnesota and Wisconsin, those deer are also really wary. Totally understand wanting to get 25, 30 feet up in the tree. I've done that. It's just a lot more effort, a lot more work, and frankly, more expensive, because then you need 5 or 6 sticks. I just put too many miles on my boots and typically hunt much further in than I'm interested in carrying that many sticks. So I would say 12 to 15 feet is kind of my sweet spot for height wise. So I run these quite a bit. 3 of these little shorties, and I only put cable 8ers on the bottom 2. The top one, I don't mess with 8ers on my top stick. But I can typically get about 13, 14 feet with these smaller sticks. Again, I'm 6'1" and I'm pretty flexible, so I can have a pretty good gap between, one step to the next. But I really like these little guys. They also pack down really well. I'll show you an example with the larger 2-step here. But they have these little hooks that you will use your cam strap or your daisy chain or whatever it is. And they just hook right in. Again, this would fit a little bit better if it was a light stick going to a light stick. But I've really liked these shorty double steps from Lone Wolf Custom Gear. So this is the longer version of that same stick. That one's 14 inches. I believe this one is 18. I could have those specs a little bit wrong, but really like these sticks. And this is where I run daisy chain. So I am a big fan of daisy chain, other than moments like this when I can't get it off the stick to show you guys. All right, so this daisy chain replaces cam straps. I still use cam straps quite a bit, but as you all know, they have metal components that find a way to clank. And not that I'm too concerned about shaving ounces when I'm deer hunting, more so pounds. But if you were carrying 4 or 5 sticks, those cam straps start to add up. But this daisy chain is literally, all it is you have loop connected, and then it's just loop, loop, loop. So you can't get the sizes quite exact like you can on a cam strap, but with this stick, you basically, I go all the way across. So like if the tree was here, I would start on the left side of the stick, go around the tree, and then come to the right side of the stick with this daisy chain. And again, you're not going to get that exact really snug fit like you would with a cam strap. But as you all know, once you're connected, yeah, you might have a little drop in your stick by 2 or 3 inches as it's tight and snug and these grab onto the tree. But I have really come to like this daisy chain. It's light, it's quiet. I honestly could not tell you where I got it. I ordered it online, and I do recall seeing the price tag, and I was like, that much for a piece of string? But at the end of the day, it is holding your body weight. I think I maybe got 4 6-foot sections for like $60 or something like that.
Tethered sells them.
Tethered does sell some daisy chain?
Yep.
Okay. But if you just Google daisy chain for tree stand, like you'll come up with some options. But I have come to really like the daisy chain option for hanging my sticks. Have not done it with tree stands, and I don't think I'd recommend doing daisy chain with tree stands.
Am steel.
Am steel. Okay. So this is a tethered 1 stick. It is really light. It is like super light. Oh, interesting. Daisy chains are super easy to make. Clint. Very interesting. I would be curious to see some elaboration on that, because I would way rather build my own daisy chain than spend another $60. Do you use a laser distance measure? No, I'm just guessing at 12 to 15 feet up. My kind of typical go-to is like 10 feet. I kind of know where a basketball rim is. And I don't ever really feel the need to get a whole lot higher than that, especially if I can get good background cover. Background cover is more important to me than foreground cover. But yeah, I find that 12 to 15 feet range pretty effective. So tethered 1, here is my gripes about the tethered 1. As you can see, it is covered in stealth strips because these things stock are like a wind chime. They are so... Tim, very smart. Bow cord, 15 feet. Then you know you're 15 feet. Very smart. But that is really my only complaint about the tethered one, besides the price tag, is that they are super loud. But stealth strips help solve that problem. When they're stock and you do this, I mean, it sounds like you're knocking on a hollow pipe, which you are. These are hollow when you get them. But my buddy Sam Soholt, who many of you may know, he actually gave me the idea to shove packing peanuts down in there, which actually really helped, as silly as it sounds. Getting some styrofoam down in there to kind of fill that air really helped to deaden the noise with these things. But beyond that, these things are very innovative and super awesome. So first thing that I really like about them is right here. When you're climbing down your tree stand, spray foam, great foam. Absolutely. Great foam fixes everything. These little glow in the dark, I don't even know what they are. They're just little strips that Tethered has pre-attached to their one sticks. I don't know if they do it on their Skeletors. But if they do, this is a worthwhile feature, because in the dark, these things glow very bright and you are never going to misstep, because you know exactly where each of your feet are going to need to go on these sticks with these little illuminated guys. The other thing that they have built in here are these little plastic, I'll call them knobbies for lack of better term, connectors. You have them at the top. This one broke off, but you have them at the bottom, and that's how you can connect your 3 or 4 sticks. These are fantastic. They clip together really easily. They stay solid and they stay quiet. But my favorite part about the tethered ones is their connection system. So this is just, I believe it's probably just an Amsteel piece of rope, very skinny rope. But you can see this is its connection point. And so all you're going to do is bring that around the tree and basically just figure 8 this through the slots that are pre-cut. And that's it. It's that simple. I honestly am blown away that other tree stick manufacturers are not using this method, because it is so dang easy. There's no loops. It's one size fits all. Very innovative. And I'm not going to say it's worth the $300 a stick or whatever ridiculous price tag these things have. But these are dang good. Julie, I do not believe there is a weight limit that any human is going to contain to not use one of these sticks. If you can climb a tree, you can use this stick.
Question: have you ever used the one stick method?
Oh man, I am not crafty enough for the one stick method. I haven't even dabbled with the idea of trying it. I've seen some of the videos, but that just ain't for me. So these, I just picked these up. I have not ran these yet. These are the D'Acquisto single steps from Lone Wolf. The one thing I do like about them is they have this little J hook, which is honestly, for you craftier folks out there, you could probably go to Ace Hardware and make one a lot cheaper than they sell them. But a very easy way with just a screw and a little plastic stopper to attach your sticks as you're carrying them. But these just give you a little bit more versatility in packing. They pack a little bit nicer than the double steps. And then of course they have the fold in, fold out steps. Again, jury's a little bit out. I just picked these up. I'll try running them this season. But I've not yet found anything from Lone Wolf that I've been disappointed in. And then the last one, and this is the stick that I've had the longest. This is a Out on the Limb Manufacturing. I've maybe had these sticks for 4 or 5 years now, and they're super solid. They bite to the tree incredibly. They're super light. I believe these guys are out of Oklahoma, just a small kind of mom and pop shop built out of passion. Super solid stick. Again, I'm running daisy chain on this one, but yeah, I mean, just super light, super mobile, great sticks here. So a lot of tethered, a lot of Lone Wolf, Out on the Limb Manufacturing. I mean, shoot, I have Hawk Heliums at home if you're looking for a budget stick. And the great thing about those Hawk Heliums, or at least the ones I have back in the day when I bought them, they're like they got to be pushing 36 inches long. So sometimes I've only carried 2 of those Hawk Heliums, just because, again, being 6'1" and having some long legs, I can put 2, almost 3 feet between my sticks if I want to do a little bit more of a pull up than a step. And so long as I'm tied to the tree, I'm not too worried about doing that. So there are more budget friendly options than what I'm running. You just got to do a little bit of searching out there, and it's all about your tolerance of how much weight, how quiet, and how foldable do you want your sticks to be. We're going to drop the giveaway link in the,
I don't have it on this computer.
Oh, all right. I gotta find the old giveaway link here.
Should be in Chrome.
Oh, yep. All right. Bear with me here a second. Dude, how do I get back to my Zoom? Yeah. Dial me up. Yeah, I got it copied. I just need to get back to my... All right, the old computer trade was catching me there. Do I bring snacks on an all-day hunt? James, of course I bring snacks on an all-day hunt. But I haven't run anything in years.
That answers a question. Are you an advocate for all-day sits, or does it depend?
Depends if I need to boost my ego for the day or not to feel like a hardcore hunter. All-day sits are great, and it's awesome to tell your buddies that you were doing an all-day hunt. But they are really hard to execute if you are not having good action. If you're having good action, I would say, all-day sits become a lot easier. If I'm going to do an all-day sit, I'll tell you the days that I'm doing them. November 3rd, very special day for me. I've killed 3 or 4 mature bucks on November 3rd. November 7th and 8th, those 2 days are inarguably the best whitetail deer hunting days in the upper Midwest. If you're not in the South with a wacky rut date, November 7th and 8th are the best days to tag a mature buck. There are more Pope and Young and Boone and Crockett entries on November 7th and 8th than any other day of the year. The deer are moving. Really, peak estrus doesn't really change a whole lot year to year. If you take the gestation period of a doe and figure out, okay, it's X amount of days based on when they were born, you can ride that back to see when that doe was in estrus, when that doe was bred. So if I'm going to pull an all-day sit, it's going to be November 3rd, November 7th and 8th, or the week of Thanksgiving, or sometime right around there. I find that later in November, those mature bucks are on their feet searching a little bit more. People have already chimed in with a bunch of different snacks. My go-tos recently, pizza rolls put into a little Yeti absolutely are awesome. You got to get up a little bit earlier to put those pizza rolls in the microwave. But that really gives me a little boost, warm on the inside. I always bring coffee or tea to the stand because, again, if I can get a little nice warm boost and feel better about myself early in the morning like that, I'm always bringing a little, 12-ounce thermos of coffee. I do a lot of fruit snacks. Heck, I have fruit snacks I was about to munch on before the webinar here. Granola bars. I'm not a real fancy snack guy. Pizza rolls is kind of as fancy as I get. I eat a lot of Snickers bars, whatever I can get at the gas station mostly. Somebody asked a question up here. Recommendations on ground blinds. So Baronet blinds. I have one of those at home. A double bowl makes great blinds. But I have not done much hunting out of ground blinds for whitetails. My best recommendation is make sure that you either get them out there a number of days before you're going to hunt them, or really brush them in well. Whitetails are usually pretty quirky about pop-up blinds. They know that ain't a natural deal. And anytime you get a mature buck and that's kind of what you're after, I think ground blinds are a little tough unless you have really good cover. There's scenarios, cedar trees, you can really tuck in a good blind, or getting a hay bale blind, like in the shape of a round bale. I've seen guys do really well with those, or like tucking into a standing cornfield. You know, if you can work with a farmer to leave, you know, 6, 7, 8 rows of corn on the edge where you can tuck a blind in there, I think those are great tactics for ground blinds, but I do not have a lot of personal experience there. What's my favorite saddle system? So I run tethered. I run the tethered Phantom. I probably will make the investment for the lockdown, maybe not this year, but maybe next year. I do think that adjustable seat would be super comfortable. Timber Ninja Outdoors is another saddle company that I hear nothing but fantastic reviews about. I think they're out of Pennsylvania, and they make some great sticks as well. I just have not dabbled with their equipment much personally, but definitely worth looking into. Never done a tree-based hunt in your life. I'm the first in the family. Eric, good for you, man. I'm pumped for you, and I'm proud of you for getting after it, because it is not an easy thing to do. It's daunting. First thing, make sure you either have a safety harness like this one and wear it every single time you get into your tree, or go the saddle route. I really do feel as though the saddle is a little safer just because the connection points are so easy. You have to buy the lines with the saddle. It's not an extra purchase, whereas if you buy this, yeah, it comes with like a janky linesman's belt, but it's barely usable. Safety harness is your number one thing, and practice in your yard or down the street in the park. Who cares if you look like a fool climbing in a tree in the park? Make sure you practice before you go hunt, especially if you're going to go try to hang one in the dark. You need to be competent and know what you're doing before you make that investment of time and effort to try to hang in the dark.
There's a question, how often are you replacing a saddle? Probably haven't reached that point yet.
I've had that Phantom, I think they came out with the Phantom 3 years ago, I want to say, and I've had that, again, I guarantee you I have north of 250 hours in that saddle. I had the Mantis before that. You buy a saddle, you're going to be set for a decade. A med kit. I do not carry a med kit whitetail hunting, mostly because I'm solo when I'm whitetail hunting. I can't really ever think of a time where I've whitetail hunted in tandem with somebody outside of the couple times I've had a cameraman. But never a bad idea. I think a tourniquet is maybe a decent idea in case you somehow stab yourself with a broadhead. But outside of that, I'm not really sure what kind of scenario you could get into by yourself where a med kit would bail you out. Are there any other questions in there?
Yeah. How do you store your hunting gear like during the off season and between hunts?
So I use those black bins with a yellow lid that you can get at Costco or Walmart. I think they're like 27-gallon bins for like $12. I don't have a fancy, Ozonics or scent killer storage system that's running ozone through there. I just put them in bins. I wash them with dead downwind scent killing soap. And then I will often, before I go on a hunt, I will hang the clothes that I'm going to hunt in outside for like 2 entire days. I'll leave them out overnight and I'll just let them stew outside. And then I'll throw them right back in the bin. That's kind of the best way I go about it. Philip, do I stalk? So one of my last things to show, I have not done much spot and stalk whitetail hunting, but that's all I'm doing in Kansas this year. I drew a Kansas tag, and I am committed to killing a deer with my bow from the ground, hopefully coming storming into this heads-up decoy. I just picked this thing up a couple weeks ago. I picked up both the bow mount and the clamp mount with it, so I can either attach it right to my bow, or I can clamp it to, a piece of deadfall or a twig or, a bush or something like that. So I think killing a whitetail from the ground is one of the best accomplishments that you can do in archery hunting. Now, of course, if you're hunting with a gun, hunting from the ground is a little bit easier. You don't got to be as close. You don't got to, get away with as much movement. But I think this heads up decoy with these clamps, I want to say it was $110 or something like that, $120. I also kind of went off the deep end and I ordered the Montana Decoy Freshman Buck just on Monday. And instead of just like the head, the Montana Freshman Buck is like the full body, but it's also like two-dimensional, very packable. So this thing kind of, well, this one doesn't fold up that good. It folds up a little bit if you really try to bend it, but the Montana Decoy one folds up a little better. But I don't have any great tips there. I'm going to go give her heck. The Hunting Public, Unguided Outdoors, those two channels do quite a bit of ground bow hunting on YouTube and are a better resource than I if you are interested in stalking or hunting from the ground.
We never did really get to your backpack.
Oh yeah, my backpack. So I just picked up this backpack. This is the tethered FAS pack. Honestly, I have not yet ran it in the woods, so the jury is out on this one. But what I really liked about it is it has 4 zippers on its main zipper. So no matter where I need to get into this pack, I can access it without having to unpack the whole pack. That's huge for me. I will not buy a backpack without a, U-shaped zipper. Just won't do it because that way I can get anywhere I need to get. I bought a couple of the attachment pouches. I put one here, I put one here, and I have this little one on top. Obviously, this Molly system allows you to customize that however you want. They also have great slots in kind of the water bottle pouch area, if you will, for a water bottle, or if you have like a stick, like the single step sticks that fold up and down, you can slide 2 sticks right in there on that side, 2 sticks in there on that side, and really then you kind of have your setup. Oftentimes, I do not walk in wearing the gear that I'm going to hunt in just because, again, I'm doing typically a lot of walking before I find the tree I'm interested in. Just posting the giveaway link again. You guys got to go fill that out. It's only going to be valid for a little while, and you can win trail cameras, merch, all sorts of good stuff. So I'm going to run this year. Jury's out on how well it works. I have an Exo Mountain Gear 4800 is what I typically run whitetail hunting. It is way overkill. If you are walking to a set tree stand, would not at all recommend. If you're walking to a set tree stand and you don't have to carry anything more than your snacks, your Grunt Tube, and a few accessories, you don't need to spend more than $30 or $40 on a pack. You can wear a fanny pack. Heck, you can use the backpack that you bring your computer to work in. And so that's what I have ran in the past. I didn't bring it in here because I packed an elk out with it last week and it is still full of blood and gore. But I would recommend Exo Mountain Gear packs. Mystery Ranch makes some fantastic whitetail packs. Again, this tethered pack, I'm pretty excited about it. Honestly, for the price point, I would probably just get an Exo or a Mystery Ranch instead of going with this tethered, because not only can you fit more stuff in it, you can also fully pack out a deer with a Mystery Ranch or an Exo. Whereas this, I'm not packing out a deer with this, but it is a little bit more compact. The Mystery Ranch, the Exos, they have internal frames, so they're just a little bit bigger and bulkier. But I am pretty excited to try this thing out and see how she rides. Somebody's Bino and Bino Harness. So I'll pull that back out here. I run an Alaska Guides Creations. I currently run Vortex binos, but again, I'm kind of a gear guy. I picked up some Zulu 6 Sig Sauer binos a couple weeks ago, and they have image stabilization in the binos. They got delivered this morning, and I have never been more excited to look through a pair of binos. It is like you are looking through binos on a tripod, holding them freehand. Those Sig Sauer Zulu 6s are pretty dang affordable. These are Vortex razors. You do not need razors in the whitetail woods. I will repeat, you do not need razors in the whitetail woods. Diamondbacks are plenty. I have razors because I'm hunting out west quite a bit too, now living in Montana. But Vortex makes incredible optics, and even better than their quality of optics is their customer service and their warranty. You can run over your Vortex binos with your truck. You can throw them in a campfire. You can do whatever you want to ruin them and send them back in for warranty, and they're going to warranty them for you. So if you're looking for optics, I'd check out Vortex, or if you want something a little fancy, the Zulu 6s from Sig Sauer are pretty awesome. Why not climbing tree stand? James, I've used a climber one time. I was maybe 15 or 16 years old, and the bottom half of the climber fell out from underneath me, and I was not wise enough to have it attached with a piece of rope. So I was 20 feet up or 16 feet up or whatever I was, and I lost the bottom half of that climbing stand. Called my dad, and eventually he got out there and he climbed back up to me. And yeah, like you, Mark, after that happened, never went in a climber again, probably never will. Nancy, late season Montana elk hunt, crampons. No, don't use crampons. That's why I keep paracord, tie loops. I was a much younger kid and did not really know much. But yeah, climbers, I got scared there. Sweet. That is pretty much everything that I have to run through. One thing that I thought about that I know I forgot, a Wicked tree saw. It is a hand saw. Wicked tree saw is kind of the brand, but that thing, I have had that thing for a really long time, and it is still sharp as heck. Fantastic. As far as knives go, Outdoor Edge Razor Pro, that's a great knife, one I have at home. I typically tend to use my Havalon with just the 60A blades. I really don't usually use gloves, but yeah, Havalon with those replaceable blades. I sometimes carry a little bone saw if I want to just quick saw through the pelvic bone there and make it a little easier on myself, but certainly not imperative, but a few more bucks will save you a few minutes. But yeah, if you're in a CWD area wearing gloves, I'm not recommending not wearing gloves. It's simply laziness on my part. There's no reason not to wear some nitrile gloves to keep you a little safer. So definitely recommend that. But that is what I have for you guys as far as a whitetail gear dump. If you have more questions or you want to chat whitetail gear, feel free to shoot me an email. My email is Jared, Jared, Larsen, Larsen @onxmaps.com. I'm always happy to chat gear or answer leftover questions that I didn't address here. I'm going to drop the giveaway link one more time. And if you have a chance, please go fill out that giveaway link. I'd love for you guys to receive some merch, trail cameras, see what else I can give away from some of the onX partners within Elite. And as always, really appreciate you guys coming out, and good luck this fall when you get up into a tree. Shoot straight, be safe, wear your safety harnesses, and let me know when you guys have some success. I'd love to see it. So with that, I'll bid you all adieu. Appreciate you coming out. This recording will be live on the onX YouTube tomorrow if you want to rewatch or need to catch up on it. Appreciate all of you. Have a great season.